Hello and welcome to the Consulting Specifying Engineer webcast using electrical design software tools, sponsored by Schneider Electric. I'm your moderator, Amara Razgis, and I'm here today on behalf of Consulting Specifying Engineer and CFE Media and Technology. Here are some tips to help you get the best from today's webcast. If you're experiencing issues with your slides or with the audio, refresh your browser or click on the Refresh Media button directly under the presenter's photo. You can control the volume of this webcast by adjusting the volume on your own computer or by adjusting the volume on the webcast platform. If you're having technical problems with the audio or with the slide presentation, click on the question mark at the top right corner of your screen to bring up a list of system checks to try before contacting a technician. If you do need a technician, please type a question in the Ask a Question box and someone will get to you as quickly as possible. Individual questions will be answered in the Answered Questions box. Please type technical questions for our speakers in the Ask a Question box on the left side of your screen. The live Q&A session will begin in about 45 minutes or so. Today's webcast is being recorded, and you'll receive an email within a week to the on-demand version of this event. To download a certificate of completion and a PDF copy of this presentation, use the Event Resources tab on the left side of your screen. These items will also be available with the on-demand version of this webcast. All right, well, I'm happy to introduce today's knowledgeable presenters, Adam Thomas and John Francis. Adam is the co-owner of Reed Thomas LLC, a BIM consultancy in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he works with clients globally. He specializes in providing first-in-class BIM solutions, whether it's on-demand production support and coordination or go-to-market strategies for unique software companies in the AEC industry. John Francis is currently the Vice President of Business Development and a Principal Electrical Engineer at ETAP, and he has more than 17 years of electrical engineering experience. John has been involved in the sales, design, support, testing, and marketing of ETAP for more than 14 years. All right, gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. Adam, let's begin.
Thanks, Amara. Thanks, everyone. So we're going to quickly go through, we're starting with LayoutFAST today. And I just want to get through three main topics. First and foremost is a quick overview of BIM and our industry positioning. This is not going to be an exhaustive what is BIM deep dive. Everyone has their own opinion of what BIM is for them. I just want to give a broad overview in that regard. The second thing is what LayoutFAST is and how it can help your team so that you hit the ground running when you immediately download and start using the software. And then last, we're going to do a quick demo of LayoutFAST in action just to show how quickly and easily your team can integrate and use it. So let's get started with what is BIM. So when talking about BIM, I like to preface with kind of the modern era of BIM. We've gone through about 20 years so far now of BIM refinement. And we keep getting buzzwords, more and more buzzwords as time goes on. But really what we want to focus on is first and foremost, the adaptability or the intelligence of our models that we're capturing. We would like them to be data rich, but we want them to be lightweight. So I hope you see how LayoutFAST is helping solve one of those at that point. Secondly, we need to be consistent and coordinated. Our models are becoming a single source of truth throughout the entire design, development, and construction process. So we need to be able to trust that single source of truth. And thirdly, they're becoming more and more collaborative. We've just went through 18 months of probably the most stressful collaboration we've ever done as an industry, but it's actually primed us for being able to work closer together while further apart. So let's look quickly at North America, just as an overview. There's still no widespread standard in North America. We know that different groups are leading efforts in the US, Mexico, Canada, and we're kind of creating a bit of a hodgepodge of BIM standards and unified BIM guidelines. So we still have a lot of growth to happen here. But I will say that I think that Canada is pushing ahead a bit. And they're trying to mandate things not just at the government level, but throughout the industry and getting architect and engineer buy-in, which the U.S. and Mexico have actually lagged on quite a bit. But it just shows that there's still a lot of growth opportunity here. So when talking about BIM2, I like to talk about just barrier to adoption, some things we're hearing from clients, and some things we're hearing just murmurs of throughout the industry. A lot of this is actually magnified within the last 12 to 18 months, just due to our working remotely or working from home situation. So primarily, we still get a skills gap. So any software or tool that helps us to be able to hire, say, an intern or recent college graduate and get them up to speed faster is becoming more and more valuable. Realizing the benefits beyond 3D is becoming extraordinarily popular as well. We're not just modeling things to model them, we're modeling things to save time, reduce waste, reduce cost, and improve efficiency. So that's becoming more and more high priority as time goes on. Having the appropriate level of model detail, this is also referred to as LOD most of the time within a BIM adoption plan or a BIM guideline. That LOD is widely discussed, and different industries are starting to break it down into more and more complex things. But realistically, what we want is the appropriate level of model detail to get the job done. So I want to show a bit in the demo how LayoutFAST actually helps with that. And then finally, and I think it's just human nature that we're all resistant to change. So trying to do something different without a really strong conviction on why we're doing it is actually quite difficult for most people. I know it's hard for me to change, and it's hard for others to change. So that's still a big barrier right now to BIM adoption. Okay, so moving ahead here, just a quick introduction to LayoutFAST before the demo. That way, if for whatever reason you read the slides after versus watching the demo, you can actually get the same takeaway. Okay, so first thing, LayoutFAST is an award-winning tool. It actually integrates directly into Revit and has web versions. We'll see both of those in the demo. And it's lowering production time quite a lot by turning minutes into seconds, and we're going to see that in action here in just a short while. So LayoutFAST also allows your team to configure Schneider products quickly and accurately. So this is allowing teams to increase their stakeholder acceptance while reducing their risk. So one of the key takeaways from LayoutFAST is to be able to spec things that pieces of equipment that Schneider actually carries, and you can see a bit of a cost for that, a bill of materials, in the future lead times for products, and the appropriate level of detail you need within your model when you need it. So we could start with a generic object and move into a highly detailed object with a handoff from LayoutFAST web into the Revit interface of LayoutFAST. So it's quite interesting to be able to have dynamic products. Most of us are used to kind of static products. You either have to pick a really detailed model that has a lot of data and it's really slow, or you end up picking a less detailed model with really data-rich parameters. But you don't really have to do that anymore with LayoutFAST. You can update and modify the components you need as you need them, and you can rest assured that those components will always be real products that Schneider offers. So no worries there. Next, with LayoutFAST, you can reduce your cost and your waste by increasing schedule visibility and ultimately pursue larger projects. So being able to put together a model faster and more accurately throughout your early design and design development is going to allow you to pursue maybe a different revenue stream or a larger project than you normally would. So we're seeing that in action already, and it's quite compelling. Next is the improvements in accuracy and acceptance during the first three slides we just looked at actually increases our decision making and affords better visualization while increasing our performance in Revit. Normally those things don't go hand in hand. If you have a really heavy visual tool, you actually have to take a performance hit normally, but with the ability to scale LayoutFAST's family from a generic Schneider offering into a very specific Schneider offering, we can actually have the best of both worlds, so to speak. And this presentation is kind of right on cue with a huge update that just happened with LayoutFAST. A couple of months ago, we released LayoutFAST 7.0. You will see some of those features in the demo, but just a few things to point out here is LayoutFAST now has Salesforce integration for schedules, quantities, bill of materials, things like that. There's a busway configurator that's quite robust inside of Revit, and a web-based version that unfortunately you won't get to see in this demo, but we would happily have a secondary demo with your team. There's a specifications generator provided by BSD SpecLink. We now have amazing one-line diagram tools and riser diagramming tools. And then just a bit for you guys, just to see a bit of the roadmap. I know everyone always asks, like, what's coming next? What can we be excited about? For LayoutFAST, we'll get into something called Project Fast in the next few months. We're going to have a pretty nice integration with ETAP. You'll hear a bit more about ETAP here in the end of this presentation with LayoutFAST Pro, and then improved or increased functionality with SpecFast powered by SpecLink. So now what I'd like to do is show just a quick demo of LayoutFAST in action.
Okay, we're going to kick things off here inside of LayoutFAST for Revit. So we're sitting on the LayoutFAST tab here, and you'll notice just a few things. We kind of have our product selector here, our modify, and our ability to update or insert a product. We have a data sheet button there as well. We have a great set of busway tools and configurators, and then we have two features associated with LayoutFAST Pro. That's the one line and riser diagrams. And then we have two kind of ancillary tools here that are just kind of quality of life, voltage definitions and shared parameters. So for shared parameters, if anybody on your team or you have a shared parameter file for electrical equipment or electrical furnishings, LayoutFAST has the ability to apply that shared parameter file to anything that LayoutFAST is bringing into a project, and anything that was configured by LayoutFAST that's currently in your project. So that's a great little additional tool to have there. The voltage definition button is similar in that this gives you all of the voltage definitions and distribution systems for every product that LayoutFAST could spec. Inside of Revit, we have to have those voltage definitions defined in the electrical settings. Otherwise, we can't actually circuit up our panels and our fixtures. So LayoutFAST has made that extraordinarily easy to do. It's also worth pointing out here that if an update is available for LayoutFAST, you'll see a bit of a dialog here on the top right. It says what version you're in and what version you could update to. You'll notice this when we go to the web side of LayoutFAST as well. So let's just go through a quick scenario here where we've got an early, let's say SD level of design. We're trying to quickly lay out a bit more of an electrical room. We've already done some work here, but maybe I'm missing a panel. So we navigate to our product selector, and we're greeted with LayoutFAST Web. You'll notice here that it says that our Revit plugin could be updated. That's a great little addition to know that the Revit plugin is out of date. We might be missing some really nice features there that we could update on. This is LayoutFAST Web. This is the exact same interface that you would receive if you went to layoutfast.se.com. It's the exact same interface you would use if you're not using Revit. So you can navigate to either layoutfast.se.com or install the Revit plugin and navigate to the product selector. So I'm going to set up a panel here. So I'm going to go down and say, I want to see panel boards. I'm going to navigate to this NF lighting and appliance panel board. I'm just going to show you how quickly this is to configure. So I don't have a lot of information about this product, so I'm going to choose the design phase of schematic design. You'll see that LayoutFAST is only asking me for one piece of information. I'm going to say that it's a 400 amp panel. That's what I'm looking for. And you'll see that it configured kind of a baseline 400 amp panel. We can see some stats over here for pricing and how to contact people for pricing. We have a few options here for looking at a data sheet. We can actually send this to someone. So if I'm an engineer on a job and I'm specifying a placeholder, I could send this to a team member in Revit and they could insert it into Revit. If I did not load LayoutFAST Web from Revit, instead of this insert button, I get a download button, or I could conversely send to someone. But because I am using Revit, I just have to answer the amperage here and I can say insert. That is going to take a face-based family that's extraordinarily lightweight, and it's going to be able to place in Revit within just a few seconds. It is dependent on internet speed, but this is really, really quick. If we click that object in Revit, we see that it has an equipment designation or a name, a placeholder. That tells us immediately that that was configured in the schematic phase of LayoutFAST. So more information may be added to it in the future. And we can add that information whenever we'd like. All of the products in the product selector work the exact same way. It's very, very consistent throughout. So anything you need to configure, that's how you would do it. So the next step would be if I need to modify or update a family. So if I go back to the family I just placed, that panel board, and I navigate to LayoutFAST and I say modify family, I'll be greeted with the exact same configuration that I loaded the first time. So it's the exact same configuration. It was in the schematic phase. It was 400 amps. But let's say we've moved through and now I have a bit more information. So I'm going to now give this piece of equipment a name. I know it's going to be from a lighting control. I know it's going to be a main lug. 400 amp was what I needed. I need 42 poles. I have an aluminum bus bar. It's a type 1 NEMA rating. And my enclosure is a surface with a door. So as soon as I've made the configuration thorough enough for LayoutFAST to actually configure it, you'll see an update button. If you were not using Revit, you would just receive another download button at this point instead of an update button. But because we are using Revit, we can simply say update. And just like that, this panel has now been updated. You'll see it has a name of LCP-1. It's got all the data we specified, 42 circuits, aluminum, surface with a door. If I need more information than that, if I click LayoutFAST and data sheet, it'll give me a live data sheet. So LayoutFAST pulls a live data sheet with all the information I need. That's in an effort to keep the families extraordinarily lightweight and purpose-built for your team. So the next thing we have here is the busway tools. The busway tools work rather similar in the you configure, you insert, you can modify, you can update. But we get a few added benefits to the busway. So let's say that I want to configure an I-line busway that was just schematic design. I could say insert here. And it is going to load not only the busway, but it's going to load any kind of fixture or equipment that may go on the busway. Once it's loaded, you'll see that my mouse is a place icon, and we've got cable tray. There is no busway inside of Revit directly, so LayoutFAST converts the busway to cable tray. So let's just do a quick draw here, just quickly to show proof of concept. So if we're modeling in Revit, we'll just do like one run. And what I want to do is view that run in 3D. So you see here, that's our busway that we just placed in. We can change heights of things if we want to here. We're basically working in native Revit at this point. So any kind of modification you want to do, you can do directly in Revit. No issues at all. But I did all that to show how easily it was to configure, but also to show you just a couple of really interesting features that busway has. So the first one I like to talk about is the ability to rotate the orientation of the busway. There's no need to have two different size busway or cable tray systems anymore. We can say rotate, and it will take and swap height for length and length for height operation. The other really amazing feature here is the ability to place hangers. So if you click any portion of the busway, you're prompted with just a few choices here. So we have hanger spacing. I don't know, let's do 2 foot, We're going to say the rod length is quite short. I'm going to use a flat-wise hanger, and I'm going to say OK. And within just a few seconds here, not only do we place all the vertical hangers, we placed horizontal hangers, or horizontally through openings. So if there's a level or an opening, LayoutFAST will find that level and automatically place a hanger, a horizontal hanger. And then we have a hanger here ending at the top. If we change any of this, we just have to rerun the hanger tool. So let's say we, moved a piece of the busway or something like that. We just rerun the hanger tool. And all of this is being done in real time. This is how fast things are, even on the longer runs. It's very, very quick. Now, after we modeled a bit of busway, just like the data sheet that we could access within Revit, we can actually access the busway details. So if we click busway details, click the busway, we see our ability here to just get a quick BOM for that configuration. So it tells us the number of fittings inside and outside, the rough total length we're running, the number of hangers that were placed. We can copy and paste this into, Google spreadsheet or a Microsoft spreadsheet, something like that, and do some quick calcs there if we need to. The last thing that I would like to point out quickly, the load bar there actually loaded in quite a few fittings. So it's not just busway, it's all of the fittings associated with busway. We have some common fittings, unique ones, we have plugins, and they all work very similar. You just drag them off the panel and you click them onto a face. And we can rotate those whichever direction we want to. And it's as simple as that. So now we've configured a pretty robust busway, and we can always update that if we get some more information on it. And if you're working in Revit, simple as navigating to modify family, update, and then everything will update without breaking anything. It actually updates dynamically. So the last two tools here to talk about is in LayoutFAST Pro. LayoutFAST Pro released a couple of months ago. And we have one line and riser diagrams. So for our one line and riser diagrams, it works on any connected system within Revit. So there's a prompt that will come up to tell you which systems are not connected. Now, most of these are what we just put in. We didn't actually connect them to anything in this sample project. And then there's some lighting device switches, things like that, that we didn't connect. This is a good test just to make sure you have everything circuited up. Once we're okay with this, we click OK, and LayoutFAST is going to dynamically pull down components for a one line and a riser diagram. Now, the interesting thing here is this tool is agnostic. It doesn't matter if you have spec Schneider products or not, although we hope that it's compelling enough that you would. If you're using out-of-the-box Revit components, your own internal library, it will actually still create the one-line and riser diagram for you with those agnostic components or non-Schneider components, which I think is a great value to everyone. So just like that, we pulled a dynamic one line. What I'm seeing is this is amazing for quality assurance and quality control. It's kind of a first of its kind tool. So no more manually drawing or drafting these only to realize that you forgot to include a component and then having to redraft or redesign your one line or riser diagram. So one line, that simple, and then riser diagram, similar dialogue just to make sure that everything's connected. And then our riser diagram comes in and we see everything that was not connected that we kind of added there last minute. And then we get a few things like voltage drops, wire types. We get some information about each piece of equipment. We also get information about the wire types. So those wire types are set up in the Revit preferences. It's not something specific to LayoutFAST, but it pulls the information. And that allows us to safely, effectively, and efficiently create one-line and riser diagrams that are tied back to the model so that we're actually giving 2D representation of the things we're coordinating and clashing within our model. I think is a fantastic value that's been added within LayoutFAST Pro. I hope you guys do too. That's been a quick demo of LayoutFAST. If you've got any questions, I'm sure we'll wait till the end and see. I'm interested to see what everyone thinks. Thank you.
All right, so I hope that little taste of LayoutFAST brought up a lot of questions. So quickly here, just to show you that if you go to layoutfast.se.com, that is where you can access either the web version or the Revit plugin, and that's also the same place you go to reach out for a demo for your team, more questions, or if you have any future updates or anything you'd like to see. I like to say we're just getting started with this. So I'm going to kick it over to John now for his presentation on ETAP. Thank you guys for your time.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it. Hi, everyone. Thank you. Welcome. Essentially, I'm going to talk about ETAP from a digital twin perspective of continuous intelligence from design to operation. Now, the digital twin is a physical and electrical representation of the entire system. So you can use the physical twin to design and analyze the system, monitor and predict, operate, optimize, or automate and control. And all of this is done on one single database and one single digital twin. Overall, when you have a unified electrical digital twin platform, it improves safety. You can make all the right moves to improve your safety because you have a true representation of the entire network. It improves reliability, so maximize your power system reliability using what-if scenarios or optimization techniques that you can perform. Increase efficiency on design and efficiency, and be compliant. So with the digital twin comes many different regulations and standards, and you can automatically evaluate your system against those regulations and standards. Now, the journey of a digital twin platform can be found by any industry: industrial, renewables, microgrids, oil and gas, petrochemical, data centers. The list goes on and on. Essentially starts with a multi-dimensional database because there's so many situations and iterations that we have to account for. So you can have them in layers and make sure you account for any condition that you want to plan. Then we have network designing and planning. That would be the very common studies that many people here are familiar with, including load flow, short circuit, arc flash protection, coordination. And we can move on to advanced analysis solutions, including transient stability, harmonics, motor starting, things that are above a level or two above just our run-of-the-mill standard applications. And then you don't just stop at the design, you go to operations for commissioning solutions. And the commissioning solutions can include SCADA, power management system, energy management, ADMS if you're in a utility, and these incorporate power plant controllers, microgrid systems, load shedding, and grid code compliance, and then preventative maintenance solutions finally at the end. Now, ETAP sits on a multi-dimensional modeling unified platform. You can have an unlimited amount of layers for visualization, whether it's a one-line or GIS, protection and safety visualization specific to cable systems, and your SCADA for operation. And all of these can incorporate different layers for data revisions, incorporating ratings and properties, settings, loading, generation. Also, the part of the scenario would be the configuration. So whether your protective devices are open and closed, whether switches are position A or position B, if loads are running continuously or intermittently or they're spare, all of these configurations with the revisions in one line can be intermixed to have unlimited presentations, configurations, and revisions. This is also time-based. So you have your configurations, you have the scenarios we discussed. It could be intermixed with time. So it could be short-term forecasting, long-term forecasting. It could be against historical information, understanding. You can understand the past, understand the present, and predict the future. Now, a digital twin platform has to incorporate many facets. Again, we talked about design and operations and visualization, but it also incorporates what Adam talked about, BIM. So interfaces with product like AutoCAD, Revit, different programs that specialize in different facets of the power system have to be incorporated and brought in seamlessly. So the transaction between information has to be dynamic, has to be seamless. And again, same with the operational view that we talked about. So many operational protocols are are included within ETAP's digital twin, including IEC 61850, OPC UA, DMP3, Modbus, SIM, so many different protocols to provide an overall solution that gives you analytics for predictive simulation if you're in real time, or analysis and optimization. We talked about many of the visualizations. I have here a sample of a few, and I just wanted to highlight some. We're going to focus on the one-line diagram today, so I'll be going through the one line, but it just so everyone knows, you can have a view specific for alarming events, SCADA system, web dashboards, a network view for utilities, and very, very large systems that you want to just show the connection between substations. You can highlight substation connections, and then a GIS view. We're going to focus, like I said, on the one-line diagram. The one-line diagram does have alarm and events, so we'll see that as well. Now, the digital twin journey also is synchronization. On today, a big portion of what we discuss is apps, right? Everyone has an app. So when you go to the field, you don't want to take your laptop, you don't want to take a computer, you don't want to take a license of your main power system model. You want an app that's easy on a tablet. So the ETAP app allows you to download on the Apple Store or Microsoft. You can get it on your Surface Pro or iPad. They're completely free. Everyone can download them on any tablet. You can sync with your model, and then you collect data, visualize the data. You can take pictures with the tablet, and the pictures automatically sync back to your main model at your computer screen. So you have an app that's in sync with the master project, and you can have unlimited apps and have people on the field collecting data at will. We talked about AutoCAD interface, so I just wanted to highlight that one more time. You can streamline work and enhance productivity with AutoCAD. And then working together. Today, we're all very familiar with the cloud. So right now, if you're using Microsoft 365, everything's in sync. Well, your power system model should be no different. Using NetPM in ETAP allows consultants and end users to host the main project in the cloud. That way, the end user and the consultants can be in sync when any changes are made. So if anybody makes a change to the model, there's a report that's generated, and this report says who made the change and what change was made. And this is done instantaneously, or you can select to be advisory, meaning that a project manager has to approve, modify, accept, or decline any changes proposed. Once those changes are incorporated and accepted, they can then be redistributed to anybody in sync with this project. And this is so that consultants no longer have to do a project, hand it over, and then they walk away, and they don't have a direct relationship with the end user anymore. Now they can be in sync over the cloud. They have this project file, and they can provide continuous services since they're more intertwined in the whole project. And it's not only a benefit of being intertwined. Using this technology definitely shortens project delivery time, increases design quality. There's no more manually transfer. It's like we're all familiar with all our cloud-based applications today. When someone makes a change, everyone else on that project can instantly see who makes that change. And what this also allows us to do is have many people work on different studies at the same time. Previously, if you're working without a cloud-based synchronization, without NetPM, you have to wait for the person who finishes modeling to finish. You have to wait for the model validation to be done, load flow, then short circuit, then selectivity, and we go on and on per study. Now with NetPM, because you can work at the same time, many people can do these studies at the same time, and then the information is shared instantaneously. So many of these studies, the timeline is brought down because you're no longer waiting for a previous study to be finished. You can work concurrently. And this can be done between operators, even if you go to the operation side, electrical engineers, field engineers with the app, project managers, planning engineers. All this is done, and it's regardless of the location, since this is all on the cloud. And the cloud can be intranet. So it doesn't have to be, it's not hosted by ETAP. It can be intranet-based. It's internal to the companies that they can decide where they want to host this cloud-based system. You can run scripting and automation sequences with ETAP Pi. So there is an integration with Python scripting. For anybody who is familiar with ETAP out there, I just wanted to make sure everyone knew this was recently released. So if you're familiar with Python, you can definitely use that to run studies, modify project data, and much, much more. Now, the digital twin journey that we're going to discuss is I'm going to show the software soon, and we're going to look at rulebooks and engineering library, which is the base of our analysis model, look at running load flow short circuit, protection and selectivity, arc flash, and arc flash does include AC arc flash, DC arc flash, and high voltage. So regardless whether you have three-phase, single-phase, AC, and we use up to 15 kV, IEEE 1584 2018. There's various standards for DC and high voltage arc flash 15 kV above. We have OSHA compliant standards for that as well. There are other solutions. I just want to make sure everyone knows that we have underground raceway systems where you can look at the duct bank and you can analyze the duct bank, look at the cables, evaluate, assess, and optimize against temperature conditions, ampacity flows, durate the cables accordingly. Ground grid for step touch voltage potential, sizing for many different equipment, and all this is evaluated using evaluators and analyzers. So it's not manual, which we will see right now. So for now, I'm going to pull up the software at this point, and we're going to go through the software so I can show you some of the items we've just discussed. So what I was saying is many people are familiar with the process of dragging and dropping a one-line diagram. So essentially, they drag, they drop, they pick another device such as a transformer, we drag and connect. But this is a very cumbersome and time-consuming process. So the solution we created was essentially, I can take a utility, and then I can click my transformer, my bus. I have a cable I can select. I can click multiple loads, and you see it automatically builds off to the side for me. I did not have to drag and drop. And if I want to add some protective devices, I can highlight these loads, hit the protective devices, and it auto inserts automatically. So this essentially is our auto build design, and you can continue at any point. So if I want to drag, click a point here, I can continue building, and it's very easy. There's no more saving countless amounts of hours on the modeling phase alone. So essentially, I'm going to now come to the main model that's pre-built. Adding devices and information is very easy. So if I go to rating and I go to the library, if you're familiar with Excel, it's very easy to kind of select a device because I can just go in here and type anything. So as soon as I type, it filters by manufacturer, and then I can select any device. We can go to the model specifically, and it's very easy to add a fuse or add data by filtering and selecting the appropriate size. To run studies, I simply go to load flow here. I have my load flow toolbar. I can run one fairly quickly. We talked about scenarios. One very nice feature from the scenario aspect, since we talked about the creation of multiple configurations, I'm going to create one-line diagram and duplicate that. And on this one, I'm going to have it in normal configuration, meaning my capacitor is closed. And here, I'm going to select a different one. I'll create a different layer. I will copy the normal and call it cap open. And on cap open, I'll change this one to cap open. And I'm going to open the capacitor here and run a study. And in this case, I can see the voltage conditions and I can see the effect side by side. Now I can do this with, again, unlimited configurations that we talked about, or electrical data revisions. And in my electrical data revisions, I have lithium ion batteries incorporated. I have renewable energy devices, modifications. So you can mix and match this electrical data change with the capacitor or with the configuration manager seamlessly and unlimited. And with the scenario wizard, it's very easy to incorporate them. So I have a plethora of scenarios that I've already created, load flow scenarios, short circuit scenarios, and they're just, I can select from the pull down menu, mix and match, show the configurations, and then pick the study that I'm going to run. And you save them at any time, so you can pull them up and rerun that case at any particular time that you want. Now, once you learn one study in ETAP, it's very easy to learn many. Essentially, I can go to short circuit and run short circuit mode, but short circuit and arc flash are also integrated with device coordination. So I'm going to jump to this to show the time you can save from running it and device coordination specifically. Now, I can run a single fault at a single location. And what this does is it allows me to graphically animate the order in which your devices trip. So I can clearly see that my protection and coordination is done well for this location. Now, mind you, I'm not showing any relays, but if I switch to relay view, again, same project, but now my relays are shown with relay parameters. I'm going to hide my parameters for now. And I can even drop, if I have a differential zone, I can drop a fault. There's no buses. I can run a short circuit and I don't have to add buses, and I see my sequence of operation. And then I use a sequence of operation event viewer to quickly identify what actually occurred. So I could see my differential relay tripped in 25 milliseconds. It was interconnected. Differential 1 was interconnected with circuit breaker 2 for a total fault clearing time of 108 milliseconds. And I can do this at any location. I can do it at the motor terminal. You can do it one by one for graphical sequence of operation. Of course, we have the option to run faults at all levels. We can take this one step further. I can select the entire project and run an auto evaluation. So now currently I am running a short circuit at every bus in the system. And I'm evaluating how well I did for protection and coordination. The protection and coordination essentially gives me, on the general tab, I see a summary of how well I've done of all the devices. But I can go to one in particular here. I click Transformer 2. You see the protection curve on the side. The TCC study is automatically updated to the TCC study that's protecting Transformer T3 in this case. The one line changes accordingly to the appropriate location and highlights that device for you. And it tells you on the primary side, we have a protection pickup limit as well. Full load amp is done well. Inrush is good and damage curve is good. On the secondary side, the pickup limit is not done well. And it doesn't just flag it, it tells you exactly why. So here I have a long time pickup of 390 amps, which is below the minimum limit of 420, which comes from base FLA times 100%. Now you also have one more thing you can do. I can go right into the Star Auto viewer, the TCC view here. I can drag this accordingly and I can reevaluate. So if I take this relay, I can drag it and it's automatically reassessing the job I did. Now it gives me my new results. Now in this case, I haven't made it pass because the fuse might be at maximum size, but essentially this tool allows you to do your TCC study and fix the issues or make them worse depending on the moves that you make. And it tells you exactly why. So in that case, I could clearly see that this was incorrect, bring my curve back to where it was or a different time dial setting and go back and fix my primary side. Now this is done for protection, coordination. So I see the time differences here and I look at coordination for MCC, T2, and you look at the upstream and downstream device. But the beauty of this is it's also incorporated with arc flash. Now I see all of these areas, the incident energy has exceeded its critical limit. And the way we evaluate this is from a C area curve. So on the TCC plot, I'm plotting the C area, which is a boundary for the incident energy level. Now this boundary is created based on the equipment. So on this specific device, which is bus 1, I have a voltage tolerance from upper limit and lower limit, plus minus 10%. Short circuit, maximum, minimum. I'm looking at VCB electrode configuration. I can also include VCDB, or maybe I'm looking at it from a different perspective, which then I want to incorporate HCB, a gap variation limit, and the working dimensions, and the dimensions of the physical characteristics. So if these aren't exact, you can add buffers. All this buffers, this takes in multiple iterations and solutions and calculates an area of available that this could be your incident energy limit. And we assign the value for calories per centimeter squared that this cannot exceed. So on the bus side of this location, I cannot exceed 12 calories per centimeter squared. I can have a setting for the line side and the load side. And we look at this curve in the TCC setting. So here you can clearly see that the C area is being crossing the. So in this case, we see we're at our lowest setting for the solid state trip device, and the C area is still crossing. So there's no way with the limit we've assessed that we can comply with the arc flash for this location. So sometimes it might just have to be, you have to compromise and change the available incident energy at that location. But the beauty of it is if I make a selection or I make a change, as soon as I change it, I can go back to the coordination. So if I, let's see, go to substation 3 here, and I look at the bus side, if I make a change, as we saw before, and I want to go below substation 3's bus side limit, now I can make that change and realize that it passed arc flash. But the beauty of it is now I can go back to coordination and evaluate if that change in coordination crossed any pass or exceeded any limits for my coordination evaluation. So I can go back and test it. What this does is this allows me to do an arc flash study and a coordination study in the same phase. So now I don't have to go to arc flash mode, run a study, go back to coordination, and check to see if my coordination pass. I do it all in one phase through this viewer only, and I don't have to go back and forth. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and go back to the PowerPoint. On the ETAP specific side, I wanted to show load flow short circuit arc flash coordination. And we'll go back to the slide and just talk about the journey here. With ETAP, we talked about the journey you can take with your digital twin. So we looked at as designed specifically, but you can also take this as predicted and test it in the operational state against the software in the loop simulator. So you can get feedback from a device, get the feedback and see how your system actually is handled on the field. We have operations simulator and a training simulator, so you can set up an environment for your operators that actually is an education environment only. And when I make a change in one scenario in ETAP, I can pass that scenario to all the students dynamically, as we saw over the cloud. They can put their responses in the software, and the solutions that they propose can be sent back to the instructor. So it's an in-sync training simulator. And all this can go, again, this is all in real time, and we can look at as operated, as forecasted, as optimized, all of these conditions to take a digital twin and complete your journey from end to end. So all this technology is implemented for modernization, control management, ensure safety and reliability, maintain resiliency, maintain compliance, and overall reduce carbon footprint. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And we are now set for Q&A.
All right. Well, excellent information. Thank you very much for those demos and for all that detail. If you have questions, please type your questions for the presenters in the Ask a Question box on your screen, and we'll get to as many as time allows. If you'd like to direct your question to a particular person, please type his name before the question. John covers the ETAP portion, and Adam covered the BIM aspects of this topic. Questions that we don't get to today, we will cover in writing on www.cscmag.com. That will be with the archived version of this webcast. And please remember to download a certificate of completion or a copy of the presentation. Please use the Event Resources tab on the left side of your screen. All right, very good. So Adam, we are going to kick off the Q&A with you.
Okay.
All right, so what are the costs involved with using this tool? Are they free? Can you give us a little bit of information about that?
Yeah, sure. So this is a good question. Because LayoutFAST has two versions now. There's LayoutFAST and LayoutFAST Pro as of the last update for 7.0. Currently, LayoutFAST Pro is in beta at no cost, and LayoutFAST will remain free forever. So you'll hear more about Pro pricing probably by Q3 or Q4 of this year, but I don't think you'll be surprised.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for that information.
Mm-hmm.
All right. John, the next question is for you. Let's see here. We have quite a few questions. Let's see. Wow, quite a few questions. So let's talk a little bit about how we deal with all of these integrations. So how does ETAP integrate with other BIM tools or other software? Can you go into a little bit of detail about that?
Good question. Thank you. Essentially, there's a bidirectional interface with AutoCAD and Revit. So you can take input data. So if I build a model, I can pass that model back to AutoCAD or Revit. Input data is transferred as well as results. So if you have short circuit, load flow, and arc flash results in ETAP, you can pass those results to Revit. Actually, in Revit, you can incorporate those results in the Revit tables.
All right, good to know. Thank you. All right, next question. I'm going to send this one over to you, Adam. This is about LayoutFAST. And can you talk about LayoutFAST one-line and riser diagram tools? How do they work with non-Schneider Electric Revit components? Can you talk about that interface or how it all
sure.
coordinates? Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a good question as well. So first thing to point out is one of the things we did in moving to LayoutFAST and LayoutFAST Pro is that Pro is set up to be a more agnostic tool where LayoutFAST works directly with Schneider's ecosystem and all of their existing products. LayoutFAST Pro is going to extend out and try to be as agnostic as possible. So with both the one-line and riser diagram, if you do have an out-of-the-box component or a competitor component to Schneider's, it'll actually still build the one-line diagrams. There's enough intelligence there that it will build the one-lines and the riser diagrams with no problems. And there's actually a few other updates coming that I think everyone's going to be extraordinarily happy with within the next 6 to 8 weeks or so. So thank you.
Oh, excellent. All right, next question. John, can you comment on modeling capabilities for non-linear magnetics? In other words, switching transients and inrush transients.
ETAP has a solution called EMT CoSim. It's a co-simulating solution and uses an EMTP type engine. And that electromagnetic engine allows you to perform switching transients and dynamic studies from an electromagnetic perspective as opposed to electromechanical, which we saw today.
All right, good to know. All right, Adam, next one's for you. Does the riser update automatically after adding equipment in the model, or do you have to rerun everything?
Yeah, that's a good question. So currently with the riser diagram and the one line, it's a one-way process. So in the video, we quickly went through kind of QA/QCing from the model down to the diagrams. And that's the best workflow currently. In that update I just hinted at, some of this will start to become bidirectional really fast. And I think that's the exciting part, being able to go from diagram back to model, model to diagram, and kind of whichever flavor you choose there. So it's coming soon, but currently one direction.
All right, thank you. Lots of questions coming in here. If you do have a question, please type your question in the Ask a Question box on your screen. Items that we don't get to today, we'll answer in writing. All right, John, next question for you. Where does the data shown on your one-line diagram come from? Is it automatically calculated somehow, or is it manually input by the user?
The results are automatically calculated and displayed, and then the input data is also shown. Now, the thing to note is that it's all user defined. So I can enter or I can list any result or property to show on the ETAP one line. And as soon as you determine what properties or input data, what properties or results you want to, once you run the study, it'll automatically display.
Sure. Okay. All right, Adam, we have time for just one more question, and I'm going to send this one over to you. Are any of the other manufacturers coming out with anything like LayoutFAST?
So we always get a question like this, right? We're wanting to know what everyone else is doing in the industry. Currently, we don't see anyone doing anything like LayoutFAST in the way that we're solving problems with LayoutFAST and Revit. But that being said, there are companies that are coming out with tools that, due to the agnostic side of LayoutFAST Pro, they'll actually work really nicely together, but nothing trying to solve these exact problems in this kind of really easy to upgrade and modify way.
All right, well, very good. So thank you for those great questions, and thanks to our terrific speakers, Adam Thomas and John Francis, for sharing their time and expertise today. I'd also like to thank our sponsor, Schneider Electric, for sponsoring today's event. And now that we're just about done, we want some feedback from you. An exit survey will pop up on your screen as soon as this webcast ends. Please take a moment to complete it, because we use this information to improve our webcasts. Finally, on behalf of Consulting Specifying Engineer and CFE Media and Technology, I'd like to thank you for attending. Thank you and goodbye.